This week's episode was brought to you by Cynthia Rubal, E. Eddie, and Norse Surrealist. Thank you, Cynthia Rubal, E. Eddie, and Norse Surrealist. It's with the generous support of listeners just like you that our intrepid team of reality disposal experts coordinate operations to replace large sections of mainline reality in exchange for ones more favorable to rabbits. If you'd like to help us reprogram reality, or just hear the second half of this episode, then please visit www.patreon.com/thewholerabbit, where your monthly donation of just $5 will not only get you the extended version of this episode, but the full extended version of every single one of our episodes, which nearly doubles our volume of content. But that's not all. I'll send you a 5x5 high-quality vinyl sticker of our Big Bunny Baphomet cover art at no additional cost to you, along with the digital keys to our Discord server, where the hosts and listeners of the show hang out, share strange stories, and sometimes even play Scrabble. I'm also currently hooked on playing Schedule 1 on PC, which is co-op, so if you are too, hit me up. We got stuff to do. Not to mention, for $20 a month, you can get a tarot reading from me, which, ask around, they're pretty fun. In this week's episode, we're joined once again by Tim Hacker of the Cryptic Chronicles podcast, www.crypticchronicles.com, who prepared for us a list of no less than 101 ways to become a paranormal investigator. So you not only stand the best chance possible of catching evidence of a ghost, UFO, or Bigfoot, but maybe even make a side hustle out of it while you're at it. Heck, I certainly plan to someday. So in this first part, we discuss the qualities that professional ghost hunter is expected to have, a brief history of paranormal investigation, the menagerie of cool equipment to play with during one, and how to begin putting together a group yourself. In the extended show, we discuss the different type of ghosts you can expect to encounter, the discovery of ectoplasm, and what the heck ghosts are even made of, along with a bunch of other niche information you're not going to get anywhere else. Thank you, and enjoy the show. What is a ghost pirate's favorite kind of tea?
What?
Booty.
Booty?
Boom.
I found out my fiance is really a ghost.
I am?
I had my suspicions the moment she walked through the door. I once told a bad joke about ghosts. It still haunts me to this day.
Oh, come on.
What kind of car does a ghost drive?
What?
Come on, Mara, you can do this. I believe in you.
A ghost car?
Come on. A Bugatti!
Oh, see, I don't know that one.
Bugatti. I like that one. That's funny.
He woke up in a new Bugatti because he's dead. Died in a car accident. He's standing outside of the car looking at his dead body. It's actually a Lorne music video, and there's cheerleaders. What now? Hip-hop? Bet you didn't expect that one.
I was thinking of the cars that furries drive. Ferraris.
Shaggin' wagon? Okay, why did the ghost ride in the elevator?
Why?
To lift his spirits!
I like that one. I think that's my favorite one so far.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to The Whole Rabbit, where we don't just discuss the ironic spectacle of when one of the world's biggest entertainers gets possessed by a rampaging Nazi egregore set loose on the world by David Bowie when he was too gacked out to know what city he was in. Nay, we also discuss the practical methodology and highly refined art of paranormal investigation, where we will explore 101 ways to step into the realm of the unknown, from the practical skills you'll need to the tools of the trade, and even the philosophies that separate the true seekers from the thrill chasers. I'm your host, Hack Rabbit, also known as Luke Madrid. I'm joined this week by the mimetic magnitude of mystery, Marisama.
Woo.
The hidden unicorn inside of Bloodborne, Hecka Astra.
Hello.
And the terrific Mr. Tim Hacker, creator of the Cryptic Chronicles podcast, crypticchronicles.com, who also helped prepare this episode for us this week. In fact, he pretty much wrote an entire book about how to get started catching ghosts, which is something we've been interested on this show from the very beginning. In fact, I've always intended for us to do a spin-off show where the crew of The Whole Rabbit finds a place that is bona fide haunted, and we do a legit investigation. And in theory, we would be following all of our own advice in this multi-part series.
Listener beware, you're in for a scare. scare.
So are we gonna have to memorize all of it?
Yes,
Yes,
Yep.
there'll be
There
a
will
test
be a
tomorrow.
test.
you will
Oh,
be
no.
quizzed.
Oh no.
In fact, there will be a pop quiz at any moment, and you could get an F, you flunky.
If you get an F, you get ectoplasmed.
That's why the biscuits are always so limp.
This is going to be an in-depth, multi-part series utilizing 101 Ways to Find a Ghost by Melissa Martin Ellis as our primary source, which is linked down in the sources section of this episode, as well as all other resources we used exploring this fascinating topic. While we aim to be comprehensive, it would definitely still be worth checking out the source material we're drawing from.
You know, this is exciting for me because I was out doing ghost hunts and taking EMF readings and scrubbing through hours of audio for EVPs many, many years before I fell down the occultism rabbit hole proper. And frankly, I'm happy to get back into it. I'm going to take this episode super seriously because this is something I'm going to make you people do with me someday.
I'm down.
As I said in previous episodes, I'll be the skeptical girl that stays by the van minding the equipment, and then I get jump scared in the very end.
So, you want to become a paranormal investigator? I do. Where do we begin?
Let's start with the number one. Number one is the qualities exemplified by a ghost hunter.
You need to have broad shoulders and big shoes.
So, you want to become a paranormal investigator. Where do you begin?
I don't have broad shoulders or big shoes.
We can get you big funny shoes. And, you know, in the 80s, women used to wear those pads on their shoulders. That's because it was for scaring ghosts. There was a lot of ghosts in the 80s until Dan Aykroyd came around. I know my history, okay?
I mean, I guess I have kind of broad shoulders, but not. Are they big enough for ghost hunting?
No, you need shoulder pads and a power suit.
Okay, power suit ghost hunting.
Power armor. Key qualities of a paranormal investigator include objectivity, patience, courage, honesty, a calm mind, and strength of character.
I don't have any of that stuff.
It is essential to suspend judgment in order to assess the facts objectively, to be emotionally prepared for potential evidence of the paranormal, to debunk falsehoods, and to be okay with being frightened at any moment. Paranormal investigations should be approached with seriousness and respect rather than as a casual activity. It's no mere hobby.
So ghost hunting is serious business.
Indeed, cultivating patience and reliability is vital as it provides stability and credibility, especially for anxious clients. It's important to manage emotional states through relaxation techniques such as yoga, meditation, or a handful of various
They help you calm down.
Being able to calm your mind in stressful situations will be a key attribute. Maintaining a skeptical yet open mind is also crucial. Healthy skepticism fosters research and critical thinking. You don't want to be so open-minded that your brain falls out. Still, you don't want to be a skeptic that goes too far. Dogmatic skepticism is just all about denying any evidence whatsoever with closed-minded arrogance.
I have experienced a lot of otherworldly stuff in my life, but not all of it would really stand up to scrutiny. Like, you can't put it all on camera, you know? Like, my experience meeting the Sophia, I'm certain none of that would have been captured on camera or on audio. That's not something I could ever show somebody else. But that being said, my day job is working at an escape room and we have cameras everywhere. My coworker, in fact, she got something inexplicable on camera. And long story short, it's a typewriter and it moved by itself. It's like if you clicked a little arm and it went like ka-ching and like slid back. You know how typewriters do that?
You hit the return key?
Yes, that's it. You hit the enter button and it starts over on the new line and it goes back, right? She was just standing there and it just did that right in front of her and she got it all on camera. And like, that's evidence. Like, we tried to go back and recreate the problem. We tried banging on the desk. We tried falsifying it and we just couldn't. So for me, that's evidence that does stand up to scrutiny. When I myself have experienced plenty of things that absolutely would never stand up to scrutiny.
Yes, but objectivity is key to establishing credibility, as many people perceive ghost hunters as unreliable, con artists, or worse. Therefore, keeping detailed records, objectivity, and respecting client confidentiality while seeking rational explanations for paranormal phenomena is essential. You want to come off more as a detective/scientist hybrid than a woo-woo cringe lord.
So you're saying your team needs a uniform?
Maybe.
'Cause that would make you look more professional.
Ghostbusters!
But no, you really should try and find another explanation. You don't want just to be saying like, oh, look at that speck of dust. It's definitely a ghost. You should try and debunk it first.
I just want a Ghostbusters uniform.
Who doesn't?
I want the car.
Oh, absolutely. I want the proton pack. It's a nuclear accelerator, they called it. I don't think those are legal. I think that's how you end up in Guantanamo Bay, in fact. Jokes aside, the field of paranormal research waxes and wanes in popularity, but nonetheless, it has been a serious pursuit for quite some time. At this point, it would be impossible to truly say when the first paranormal investigation happened. After all, how far back in the dim memory of time was it when the first caveman was compelled to investigate an inexplicable bump in the night? In fact, based on our own research, it would probably be more accurate to say that humans have assumed the existence of spirits, gods, ghosts, entities, and supernatural sources of explanation for infinitely longer than they've sought purely material or rational ones. Even now, however, speaking purely from my own experience, even the most hardened skeptics, or just flat-out non-believers, usually have at least one supernatural encounter story if you can get them talking. And if you get them talking long enough, they'll usually tell you that doesn't change their underlying belief. They just have a story that has no other explanation. It's very interesting. A lot of people have a story. Just parents can usually be relied upon for a good ghost story. Now, if we use the Bible as a source, we can see the consorting with spirits or of the dead, sometimes for the purposes of divination, has exceedingly old roots, and it was a thing people went and paid for. The oracles of Delphi, for instance, were among the most respected institutions in the whole ancient Greek world, and they were profoundly paranormal in nature. The repeatability and reliability of the prophecies given by these oracles is partly what made them so well respected, and although we may not be giving oracles for kings and mighty generals, that level of ritualized fastidiousness towards paranormal activity is the same thing called of paranormal investigators today. Eventually, however, with the rise of rationality and material science, this spiritual worldview slowly went the way of the dinosaur, and in doing so, paranormal research became a niche interest, left to evolve alongside science, but more as an orphan stepchild rather than a respected branch of proper study. In fact, it could even be said that paranormal investigation emerged from the debris that accumulated when spiritualism collided with the unhinged scientific enthusiasm of the post-Civil War period, a time of rapid expansion, invention, and modernization. It was like every 5 seconds they invented some sort of miracle machine, and that's how flim-flam machines got so popular. Ghosts get thrown in the mix. Makes a lot of sense. So if we look at Smithsonian Magazine, they claim that paranormal investigation truly got started in 1848 when sisters Maggie, age 14, and Kate Fox, age 11, reported to a neighbor of hearing strangely intelligent knocks inside their farmhouse bedroom in Hydesville, New York. When the neighbors would come to see what all the fuss was about, their mother, Margaret, would begin the demonstration by commanding the unseen spirits to say, "Count to 5, which would then be followed by a series of 5 heavy thuds. Using this method, Margaret could communicate with the so-called spirit.
If you are an injured spirit, manifest it by 3 raps.
3 heavy thuds quickly followed. Whether the ghost got proper medical attention or was insured at the time of injury is still unknown. Shortly after wowing a number of neighbors with this display, the Fox family abandoned the house and sent Maggie and Kate to live with their older sister Leah in Rochester. That this same area is well known for the Finger Lakes. This is the same location that's tattooed on Hunter Biden's back for some reason, and it's a place known for its religious fervor vis-a-vis the birthing of Mormonism and Millerism, which is a precursor to Seventh-day Adventism. So it's steeped in religious, I don't know if that's the word, like the revolutionizing religion, like they're updating it. It's culty. So it was at this time, community leaders Amy and Isaac Post, they took an interest in the Fox sisters' story because it had long been rumored that basically the spirit could have been no other than the one belonging to a peddler who had been murdered not just 5 years ago in the exact barn where the girls were said to be currently sleeping. So this led to essentially the first paranormal investigation because they sent a team to the barn. Supposedly they recovered strands of hair and what looked to be bone fragments. But it didn't stop there. Now, because the Fox sisters could supposedly communicate with these spirits and get them to knock, the Posts were like, okay, but can you do it at our house? Can you do it where the ghost is not? And this, too, was like an experiment, like we're going to have a hypothesis and test it.
Quote, I suppose I went with as much unbelief as Thomas felt when he was introduced to Jesus after he had ascended, unquote. Isaac Post wrote, he was swayed by very distinct thumps under the floor and several apparent answers. unquote.
Next thing you know, the third sister, Leia, she begins displaying signs of mediumship. And then she starts communicating with the spirits of the Post family's deceased daughter. And then what followed was none too different from what we heard about in the story of the life and times of Edgar Cayce. The Fox sisters suddenly became an enormous sideshow attraction.
Quote, the Posts rented the largest hall in Rochester, and 400 people came to hear the mysterious noises. Afterward, Amy Post accompanied the sisters to a private chamber where they disrobed and were examined by a committee of skeptics who found no evidence of a hoax, unquote.
They're 13 and 14.
They did the same thing with Joan of Arc. I think that's how Joan of Arc was. No, really, this is some weird, creepy thing they used to do back in the day.
Oh, they think they had something in their robes and they were knocking on it to make the sound? All you gotta do is look at their hands, and you can tell they're not doing anything.
Well, that's what happened. They couldn't figure it out. So after all this, Leia stays in New York to continue doing mediumships in a seance room. Meanwhile, her sisters Kate and Maggie, they took their show on the road. Places like Cleveland, Cincinnati, Columbus, St. Louis, Washington, D.C., and Philadelphia, where despite various skeptics doing their damn best to disprove whatever bizarre phenomena seemed to obey the commands of the Fox sisters, none of them could figure it out. One skeptic included the explorer Elisha Kent Kane, an Arctic explorer and U.S. Navy medical officer who almost discovered the North Pole. He did help carve the path that eventually did lead to it. Now, Kane spent a month trying to figure out how the sisters were pulling off their obviously fraudulent caper, but he could never quite figure out how it worked. He ultimately had to admit that it was a mystery. He just didn't think it was paranormal. Nonetheless, he found himself, despite these steadfast doubts, falling hopelessly in love with Maggie, a girl 13 years his junior, and compelled her to relinquish her, quote, life of dreary sameness and suspected deceit. Maggie acquiesced. Kane then paid to send her to college, and the two were promptly married. Sadly, though, Kane died just a short while later, but Maggie, although she did turn to booze, never broke her promise to, quote, wholly and forever abandon spiritualism. The popularity of both Kate and Leia boomed during and after the Civil War, which saw a huge upswell of interest in talking to the dead and novel spiritual movements. That's the kind of thing that happens after war. People want to talk to their dead relatives, etc. And when there's a big tragedy like that, people are often left looking for answers. They feel like the old ways have failed them. And it's always a good time for new spiritual movements.
Death is in the zeitgeist.
Absolutely. So with audiences always thirsting for miracles, the pressure of life on the road eventually took its toll on Kate, who also fell to the habit of using booze for a crutch. Then, in October of 1888, the ectoplasm hit the fan when the New York World published an interview with Maggie in anticipation of her appearance in New York Academy of Music, where she was scheduled to publicly denounce spiritualism. So this is the sister that got out of it and never broke her vow. She's like, I'm coming out public. I'm going to tell
I'm college
everyone.
educated now.
Exactly, and I'm going to tell everyone it's a bunch of hooey. So with her sister Katie, right? There's like huge psychic in the audience. Maggie takes to the stage and says,
quote, my sister Katie and myself were very young children when this horrible deception began. At night, when we went to bed, we used to tie an apple on a string and move the string up and down, causing the apple to bump on the floor. Or we would drop the apple on the floor, making a strange noise every time it would rebound.
So Maggie's like, we made it up. We were just pulling an apple string, you dummies. She also explained that some of the knocking they heard was just them popping the joints in their toes and fingers and stuff.
Yeah.
And then she said that the people who were imagining being touched, they were just bananas and just making it up.
Quote, it is a very common delusion. Some very wealthy people came to see me years ago when I lived in 42nd Street, and I did some rappings for them. I made the spirit rap on the chair, and one of the ladies cried out,
I feel the spirit tapping me on the shoulder.
Of course, that was pure imagination, unquote.
Maggie insisted that Leia had been in on the caper the whole time and had only been indulging her greed and exploiting her younger sisters for fame. Afterwards, she demonstrated how she would pop her toes on stage, like pulled off her shoe and was like, see? And popular culture considered the incident a nail in the coffin for the burgeoning spiritual movement, which was now splintering into various camps. Some claiming that Maggie had actually just become bitter because she had never become famous like her sisters. And to make matters worse, just a year later, Maggie recanted her entire confession.
Wow.
She recanted it.
I was lying about the lion.
And nobody took her seriously after that. Go figure. Her sister Leia died not too long after in 1890 without ever reconciling. And then Kate, 2 years after that, she died during a bender. And to wrap things up for the sisters, Maggie followed in a similar manner just 8 months after that. In the wake of their death, a number of prominent spiritualists formed the National Spiritualist Association, which exists today as the National Spiritualist Association of Churches. So it kind of did become a religion. And so, while some of the groups became more like churches, others, like the Society for Psychical Research, SPR, was founded in London in 1882, and it was an attempt to study such paranormal phenomena, but from a neutral standpoint and subjected to scientific methods. Just 2 years later, in 1884, the American Society for Psychical Research, ASPR, was established by psychologist William James, who investigated mediums like Leonora Piper, known for her automatic writing. Piper's seances charged $20 per sitting, which is like equivalent to $500 today, and it included tests where she correctly identified owners of locks of hair, though James died without any conclusive proof, which left a bit of a stain on the whole field of psychical research. Meanwhile, the University of Pennsylvania formed a commission specifically to debunk spiritualists like Piper, leading to their report of the Fox sisters in the 1890s, which labeled them as nothing more than hoaxsters. The era using science to either prove or disprove paranormal phenomena had officially begun. In 1926, Harry Price founded the National Laboratory of Psychical Research, also in London, which made use of modern scientific equipment like cameras, dictaphones, barographs, and thermometers to investigate locations under controlled conditions. Exactly like the sort of thing we'll be learning about in this series. Price once documented temperature drops during seances, with the medium Stella C from 15 Celsius down to 9.4 Celsius. And this was considered empirical proof, but of course it was dismissed due to sensationalism. Nobody believed it. Then, in the mid-20th century, we saw the rise of New England Society for Psychical Research, headed by Ed and Lorraine Warren. That was in 1952. Most of our audience would probably be familiar through their immortalization in the Conjuring film franchise, and they were kind of a big deal. Could do a whole episode on them someday. And leading us closer to the present, in the early 21st century, we saw the rise of popular television shows that we enjoyed as kids, like The Most Haunted in 2002 and Ghost Hunters in 2004, which injected ghost hunting and paranormal investigation directly into the mainstream, with groups like TAPS presenting themselves as bona fide professionals with outfits, Tim, outfits, and providing a valuable service to potential clients. Now, as the burden of television programming became more and more the domain of independent content creators of YouTube and other places, you get names like Sam and Colby, which now dominate the ghost hunting scene. I don't know if you've heard of Sam and Colby. Some of you have kids and probably have. Some of you probably do watch Sam and Colby. So when I went to the Queen Mary, the ghost tour stopped for like 10 minutes to just discuss Sam and Colby because it had an enormous impact on their tourism. So if you get big enough, you could basically get sponsored to go on vacation places and, go see places that other people don't see, rent out the place all night. And so you got to ask yourself, why are you doing this? Are you trying to get famous? Do you want to prove that ghosts are real? Or do you just want to play with high-tech toys? Because, if I'm being honest, I mostly want to play with the toys. I want an infrared camera.
A lot of this is giving me Scooby-Doo vibes. The cartoon, actually, it's usually just a dude in a suit with a stupid mask on. So it's like...
Only in the first version. The second version, it's always the weird.
Yeah, they revived it in the 90s and 2000s to be actual supernatural ghosts and stuff. But the original series is like... That's not a ghost. Our scientific reasoning and logic has shown us that it's just a guy in a suit.
Yeah, but that's what you're supposed to do. If it is a guy in a suit, then you're supposed to find the guy in the suit, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the Scooby-Doo crew, they're not trying to prove the existence of ghosts, right? They want the truth. Maybe a little bit of weed.
And some Scooby snack.
Isn't that? Well, aren't Scooby snacks weed?
No, they're dog biscuits, but Shaggy eats them too, so they could just be cookies.
What? No, Scooby snacks are weed, aren't they? You say, like, I want some Scooby snacks. That means I want some weed, right?
No, it's food because you're high and you have the munchies.
I didn't know that.
I've heard mushrooms referred to as Scooby snacks, so I don't know.
I think it's just a silly thing to say.
Please make sure to comment and tell us what Scooby snacks are.
They're dog treats. Where are we, by the way?
Why are you doing this?
The question is, why do you want to be a ghost hunter? Everyone must answer this question for themselves, at least.
As asked in the book, Picture Yourself Ghost Hunting by Christopher Balzano, it is just as important to know your own motivations as it is to have the qualities required to become a paranormal investigator. Some seek to find some sort of spiritual enlightenment. Some just want to find evidence to prove there's something more, whether or not they know what they will do with it. Others experienced something ineffable at one point in their life and became investigators to find answers to what happened to them. There are also the adrenaline junkies who thrive in atmospheric conditions that render their senses hyper sharp.
All I know is pain.
Still, others, such as myself, are just naturally drawn to the unknown and cannot refuse the call.
Wasn't that the story of the skinnier guy of the Taps pair? He was experiencing a death in the family, and he very clearly had some sort of interaction, and that kind of like compelled him to want to know more. I think that's fairly common. It's good to know your motivations.
Yeah, because then you better understand your objectives. Being a paranormal investigator is not a lucrative pursuit, with most having years pass without getting anything in return, if they do at all. Not only that, paranormal investigation can get incredibly expensive and hard to manage with your normal day-to-day life. There are also the alleged hidden dangers that come from the job to consider, so it's important to know your own motivations before ever moving forward. If this interests you, ask yourself why. Until you have a clear answer, you should not move forward with your interest in the paranormal.
You know, because at the end of the day, you could probably invest the same amount of time, money, and energy into a traditional business like catering or doing audio rigging for film or pressure blasting bird poop off the sidewalk, because those things will give you a return on your investment. With ghost hunting, well, good luck.
Yep.
I think it's just sound business advice to ask yourself why before plunging.
Paranormal investigation even goes beyond ghosts to those who are really into and embrace this profession. There are also UFOs,
Tell me what's next.
demonology, cryptids, and esoteric cases that perfectly fall into the category of the paranormal.
I got hairy legs.
Bigfoot could be a ghost. How would you know? Unless you investigated.
But if you know yourself and have the required attributes, and you know why you want to become a paranormal investigator, then what will you need to begin?
Oh, this is the fun part. This is the part I really, really like.
2. Your essential equipment list.
Also known as toys.
Flashlight and extra batteries, essential as they can fail unexpectedly.
We all know ghosts like to feed on batteries. Either that or ghost hunters smoke a lot of marijuana and cannot ever remember to bring fresh batteries. We are still trying to figure out which one is true.
First aid kit for minor injuries in the dark, old buildings.
You could run into rusty nails. You could confuse a bunch of rat poison for M&Ms. You have to be careful.
Notebook and writing utensil to document observations. Wind-up watch, reliable timekeeping without batteries.
That's also a good idea if you're profoundly psychic or your Reiki powers are just out of control, because you could stop watches with just your psychic power. Imagine what a ghost or a demon could do.
Tape recorder for capturing audio with an external microphone.
It's actually better to use a digital one because it reduces falsifiable. It's actually better to use a brand new, all the bells and whistles digital one because it reduces falsifiable EVP results, which can occur due to analog equipment's moving parts. So this became much easier to do as technology got better, which I think is fun.
Camera, digital or film with a flash. Bring extra batteries. EMF meter measures electromagnetic fields for paranormal activity.
And you know, if things don't go well, you could just offer to sweep their house for high levels of electromagnetic radiation. And if you find them, you could just tell them to rearrange all their furniture and then charge them $700.
Cell phone for communication and emergencies. Don't go alone. Not required, but useful items. Candles and matches. Backup light source.
Careful though, one critical fail and you go from trespasser to arsonist. You ever hear that song Smoke on the Water by Deep Purple? It's about a ghost hunt that went wrong.
Oh, I thought it was just about hitting the bong.
That's what happened.
Okay.
They didn't have big lighters back in the 60s. They only could rub sticks together to make fire to hit the bong, right? And they were rubbing the sticks together and they put down the flaming stick and it burned the house down. That's what Deep Purple wrote the song about, because they were hunting for ghosts. And that's why you don't use Ouija boards.
Oh.
Makes sense. Pendulum and dowsing rods for spirit communication. Rubber cement and black string to detect unauthorized access.
What about a hand grenade to put with the black string?
Yes.
Actually, don't do that. People do crazy things these days. Okay, the last two items you mentioned, or 3, the pendulum, the dowsing rod, black string, you can get that stuff on Amazon for really cheap. I'm just saying.
Magnetic anomaly detector.
Oh, hold on. EMF detector, you could get for like $12. Will it be accurate? Maybe. But it certainly is much cooler to go ghost hunting with a thing in your hand that goes like beep, and then you can be like, see, ghosts. I knew your house was full of ghosts.
Yeah, you can just pretend like you're on the show Supernatural.
If you double down and spend like $24, you could get like a digital display and like you go full Peter Venkman, you know what I'm saying?
Magnetic anomaly detector gauges magnetic field anomalies.
One more thing you could charge a potential client for.
Tape measurer to track object movements. Area map. Familiarize yourself with site layout.
Okay, but also cat toys. If you go on Amazon, there are these cat toys that are small orbs and they light up when they move, right? They're super cheap. And I'm fairly certain that more of these cat toys are sold for the purposes of ghost hunting than they are for cats. They're inexpensive. You just put them on the ground, right? And if they move, they light up. So you put them somewhere where you know it's not going to move. And if they start moving, then it's obviously a ghost or a cat that you can't see. That's invisible, which happens sometimes, you know. Cats. Also, infrared vision and night vision. This stuff used to be so prohibitively expensive that like when you pull it out on the TV show, it's like, whoa, these guys hang out with the Mossad or something. It's like now you just order it on Amazon for $40. And there's all different types. And besides, if you live somewhere where you're hunting Bigfoot, you could see deer. There's lots of reasons to have infrared.
Important reminders. Bring multiple backup batteries for everything electronic. Your batteries will get sucked dry randomly for no reason. Bring common sense, investigative skills. Always go with a buddy for safety.
You should scout the location during the daytime so you could find all the rusty nails. And it wouldn't hurt to get good talking to the police in case you get caught trespassing.
3. Keeping accurate records. It is important to keep notes even when recording audio and video. This includes the following. Take detailed notes during investigations to capture personal experiences and observations. Record significant phenomena and potential ordinary explanations for each event.
Are you familiar with Big Chungus? Big Chungus.
Eliminate suspect events with ordinary explanations and list remaining significant findings in order. Don't discard less significant facts. Keep them for future consideration. Acknowledge the role of coincidence in investigations. Analyze data for meaningful probabilities and correlations. To minimize guesswork, maintain a logbook during investigations. To track important data and equipment used. Include space in the log for weather conditions, EMF activity, moon phase, and personal impressions. Document any anomalous experiences or events to correlate data among investigators.
And if you're an occultist, it's recommended to do this anyway all the time. But it's a great idea to keep track of the phase of the moon. You could also keep track of what sign it's in. In terms of astrology, you should maybe also keep track of what sign the sun is in, or maybe all of the planets. Go all out. That stuff could affect whatever phenomena you're studying. Does it always happen on a full moon? Does it always happen when Mercury conjuncts Chiron? I mean, if it does, you'll sound super smart pointing that out. You could also check if the hauntings are worse on Catholic holidays. And of course, does the activity correlate with anyone's menstruation? I'm not kidding. That's why they ask in the first Ghostbusters, are you menstruating right now? Because some poltergeist cases tend to be a little worse when there's menstruation going on.
She's attracting ghosts.
She's unclean. Lock her in the barn.
That's werewolves.
Next, we'll have bears.
Werebears.
Next thing you know, she's going to attract bears with her menstruation. 4. Your paranormal self-education.
That's what we're here for. We have talked about everything that could ever be paranormal, and we're still going.
To pursue a career as a paranormal investigator, it's important to gather reference materials and educate yourself about unexplained phenomena.
Or just have a really weird or traumatic childhood.
Recommended authors include Colin Wilson, D. Scott Rogo, and Lloyd Oberbach. But there is literally no end to the material out there that will be useful in one way or another.
Also Sam and Colby.
Podcasts, such as this one you're listening to right now, as well as videos and audiobooks, are legit education bits as well if you want to utilize those. While reading, take notes on interesting concepts and ensure that any online resources you use are credible.
Well, Cryptic Chronicles does a lot of like this class of spiritual being, right? And like this type of thing. That's actually the kind of thing you want to know about.
Yeah, I get pretty specific. Consider enrolling in classes to develop practical skills, such as operating EMF meters and conducting EFP investigations. Being taught by a master will reduce the time it takes to become effective because it will avoid tons of trial and error, which sucks. Key topics to cover in these classes may include locating haunted sites, researching the histories of those sites, interviewing eyewitnesses, assembling a ghost hunting kit. Before signing up for classes, verify the credentials of the instructor or whatever like institution it's like attached to, you know? There are a lot of cringe lords, LARPers, and con artists out there.
No!
TAPS offers one-day seminars in the Northeast U.S. and online classes vary in cost. Additionally, look for ghost hunters conferences for networking opportunities and further learning experiences. Again, avoid associating with weirdos, though. A real paranormal investigator should have the vibe of a hybrid between a detective and a scientist.
You're telling me they have ghost hunting classes?
Mm-hmm.
Do they bring ghosts for you to test things out on?
Yeah, you get ectoplasmed. Sometimes you get a new sleep paralysis demon, too. Like, sometimes you get one that's just like...
Yeah, they always request the one that sits on your dick.
What's the Peterson dude who gives the talks?
Jordan Peterson! He knows
Yeah,
about
sometimes-
using benzodiazepines to stay calm.
Well, sometimes you get a sleep paralysis demon, that's him. And he
Oh,
talks to you, you can't move. And he's like, your goddamn floor is dirty. What does that say about your manhood as a future philosophy? You know how he talks. He talks like Kermit.
Look, all I know is that he may represent Christianity, but what he is himself is, we just make it up as we go.
You have to make your own bed. If you don't make your own bed, somebody's gonna make your bed for you. Think about hearing that while in sleep paralysis.
Jesus is going to make my bed for me, Peterson. God.
5. Building and organizing a team. You can form your own paranormal investigation group with like-minded friends, or research your local area for others like you. Establish clear rules and a system for your investigations from the outset. Divide the group into 2 teams, pairing members with complementary skills and personalities. So I have to be with Mari every time or I'm gonna fucking rage. That's my team. The last thing you want is drama, conflict, or people thinking that they are the main characters in a movie. Choose your team wisely.
Unless you're monetizing content for YouTube, then do the opposite.
Yeah, then just be dumb as possible. Screen applications from new members to ensure they possess essential traits such as objectivity, patience, and courage. Include questions about education, employment history, and hypothetical scenarios in the application process. Vetting your group should be very in-depth and never settle. Just a single wrong pick for your team can ruin your credibility.
I'm pretty sure Facebook is a place where you can create a group and then you can screen the members that get in. And that's fairly effective for local communities.
Yeah.
So you should use your online resources. You can find other serious people because your friends, they might not be serious people.
Mm-hmm. You'd be surprised, actually, just how many local ghost hunting groups exist if you did a quick search around your own area.
Bro, you'd be surprised how many people go out to collect Pokemon in your area.
Ensure clear communication among team members to prevent any withholding of critical information. This means encouraging all sharing of details, even if you think they are like it's dumb or unnecessary. Just write it down anyway. Choose and train group members wisely to enhance the success of your investigations and build credibility for your name. Avoiding crazy people or prima donnas will be key.
I feel like you need some diversity on your team. You need a psychic, in my opinion. You need somebody that is really neurotic and sees ghosts. Somebody that senses spirits. Somebody that smells weird stuff. Somebody that shops at a crystal store. One of those types of people that has oracle cards, or maybe a chaos star tattooed behind their left ear. Those types of people. You got to have 1 or 2 of those on the team. And then you need to have the person who's obsessed with the equipment, right? Mostly so you can pick on him and then blame him if something goes wrong.
That was highly specific.
But it makes sense.
I have vision, okay? Then you need the person who could actually follow all the procedures, right? Where it's they know what to record. They kind of keep everyone else on track. Also, it takes a special kind of person to review all of the material. Because let's say you have a handful of security cameras, a handful of EVP stuff, like audio recorders, infrared, whatever. All of a sudden, after one investigation, you now have 300, 400, 1,000 hours of stuff to review. Who's got that time? So that takes a special person who's going to review all that information. And then you don't want the person who can just sit there and say they reviewed it. They actually have to not just pay attention, but be the type of person that can pick up a weird whisper, right?
You need someone with OCD that's really into just hawk-eyeing footage and audio.
So I've gotten so used to watching escape rooms, I can almost tell exactly what's going on just by listening. And so if you were really familiar with a site or with your equipment, it could be possible for you just to listen and be able to pick out very subtle things. And that's the sort of person you need. So really think about that when picking your group. You need a bunch of different skills, you need different perspectives, seriously, and you need somebody who can talk to other people, including the police. Maybe somebody who can drive a car, whatever it is. Somebody's got to bring the weed.
I think by your description, I'm the neurotic one.
Well, you also know stuff about demons and banishing and exorcisms and stuff like that. So you bring more than that to the table. But yeah, I think you could walk to a place and be like, no, I have very bad vibes here. Something bad happened here,
Yeah, that's true. I don't have oracle cards, though, or a chaos tattoo behind my ear.
I've got the oracle cards. I've got the Crowley cards.
Okay, so we'll do a fusion dance.
Yeah, sounds sexual.
I feel pretty useless in this department.
I think you'd be super into the tech. Like, I think you'd get really into it.
I could read you the readings.
6. Joining an established paranormal research group. Finding a group for training is essential to become a successful paranormal investigator. Search for local paranormal groups or individuals with established reputations. Introduce yourself and express your interest in joining or observing their investigations. New members are required to fill out a form acknowledging their responsibilities and the potential risks involved. Groups often conduct screenings to ensure safety and proper conduct among members. So don't be a weirdo.
Definitely bring your manifesto for us to review during your interview.
Smoking is prohibited during investigations to avoid confusion, and hazards. And discussions about religion are also discouraged to maintain group harmony.
Can we stop and talk about those two things for a moment? Because I think those are important.
Sure.
From an occult perspective, smoking tobacco, of course, just burning it, can be said to either banish or conjure spirits. I think some very strict traditionalists may say that the type of tobacco in a cigarette doesn't count, but I think there are plenty of people that say that it would.
It's especially if you smoke all natural.
Yeah,
tobacco.
I smoke American spirits, which it might bring in American spirits.
It's racist. No, seriously, I think that is worth considering. So I also don't think it would be safe to be around people like Heka or Mari if they didn't have cigarettes. So you have to consider...
Yeah.
So you probably should have a smoking area, but it does make sense to have it be off-site. And if you really think about it, it does make sense, if you can help it, to just ban all smoking. Why is that? Do you guys know why that might be? Pop quiz time! This is one of those pop quizzes!
So you don't accidentally banish everything?
Or summon
Maybe.
something else.
Maybe, yes.
Or so it doesn't show up as something on the cameras?
Yes, that is one answer. Because if the building's not burning down and you have no smokers and a weird plume of twisting, curling smoke goes through a camera, that's weird, right? That's usually hard to explain unless you have a smoker. So yes,
That's
but there's
true.
another reason as well.
Well, you could just discount all the footage for me because I chain smoke.
See, that's the problem. But no, the other reason is, of course, let's say your ghost was a smoker. Now your ghost smells like smoke. It's fairly universal.
Oh, you can't smell it if it comes up.
Well, you can always be like, it's just Mari or Heka smoking. But if,
That's what I'm saying. It masks the sensations of the detection of a ghost.
Yeah, because now Heka smokes really light cigarettes, but most people don't smoke cigarettes that light. Now, most cigarette smokers, if they just come in from outside smoking a cigarette, you can smell it on their clothes. Sometimes it can make people upset, And like, even, okay, let's say you do light up a smoke, you could smell it. Like, there's no not smelling it. So if you're in an area that's closed, no smokers, all the windows are closed, and suddenly you get a strong odor of a cigar or some Newports or whatever, that's a ghost. You know what I mean? If there's no other way to explain it. You don't just get random smoke smells out of nowhere. That's the point.
True.
Or if you suddenly hear bit hitting a bucket, chewing tobacco. I don't chew tobacco. I just imagine that some ghosts would chew tobacco.
Definitely.
And then the second thing, talking about religion is discouraged to maintain group harmony. Now that makes sense. You don't want to talk about religion or abortions or, what's better, the chunky or the smooth peanut butter, because that can cause a friendship ending fight. But
Totally.
in the same way, conversations about religion get the attention of people it shouldn't, or they arouse the energy of people in a workplace that you don't want. It can sometimes also arouse the interest of a ghost. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know where I'm getting this, but it seems like ghosts tend to be attracted to intense conversation like that. You know what I mean?
I think you could use it to actually, make them interact depending on the ghost.
Yeah, I think you should decide about this rule for yourself and be informed about how that could affect the investigation and go from there, because you never know. Like, who knows? Talking about religion could be the magic bullet to make activity happen somewhere.
7. Follow strict protocols to protect credibility. Ghost hunting groups are increasingly adopting very strict scientific protocols. The outdated method of barging around is becoming less common. Groups that rely on old methods risk losing credibility and clients. Believe it or not, there are a lot of people out there looking for paranormal investigators. Groups are now prioritizing evidence gathering and analysis, ensuring that natural explanations are ruled out first. However, this scientific approach can sometimes conflict with the goal of solving mysteries rather than simply debunking them.
When you use the term barging around, do you mean that modern ghost hunts are less like you're running around being like, what are you gonna do? Scare me, Mr. Spooky Ghost? And you're like insulting them and stuff. And like, you're saying like modern ghost hunts, you just set up the cameras and you sit very still. Like what?
Yeah, if you look at ghost hunting shows that are popular, you don't do that.
Oh,
I've seen a couple of them where it's like one person who's a believer and another person who's a skeptic, and then they each take turns going in. The one who's a skeptic like shit talks and like calls out ghosts a lot and like tries to like bang on things and stuff. So I think there's still people out there that do that.
Yeah.
But
it's funny though, because if you are a skeptic, you actually have like a shield from the paranormal, and spirits won't be interested in you. Like they can, they don't experience or see things like us. Like they could just look at you and they see like all of the other layers of the electromagnetic spectrum more so than you. So if they see somebody that's like blue color with purple, like, oh, screw that. Pointless.
I tend to repulse weirdness. I think I am less likely to see a ghost or see a UFO. This is despite my belief in them and my interest in them.
see, that's why you and I have to be partnered together, because I'm like an attractor for that stuff.
Yes, you are such a strong attractor that you're a stronger attractor than I am a repulsor. And it's around you that I have got the one thing that I, at least to myself, I cannot falsify. I don't know if I could prove it to somebody else, but at least to me, that weird little pyramid that flew off your altar, there's just no, how else, like, there's nothing could have done that.
Yeah.
And that stuff does not happen around me. So I was like, oh, wow. Imagine if you had to live with that your whole life. You would seem crazy trying to tell people that stuff is real. But it is for some people.
Yeah, that kind of stuff happens a lot with me. So, I mean, it'd be kind of cool to just actually have cameras there for once.
That would actually be part of the picking your team. You should try and figure out who on your team is a weirdness attractor and who's a weirdness repulsor. Sorry, we're getting off track. We're talking about, like, what kind of protocols should you follow? And there's, some recommended ones here.
Different groups do things differently, but most kind of follow the same protocols, such as the following. 1. They obtain permission to visit the site, clearing it with the relevant agency or property owner.
Sam and Colby famously put a sticker in a forbidden part of the Queen Mary, and now they're like banned forever. So it doesn't matter. Yeah, follow the rules no matter how famous you are.
2. They investigate in teams, ensuring that no one is alone. 3. Strict records are maintained of the equipment used, and electronic devices are checked for reliability before field use. 4. The reported phenomena is analyzed for possible natural explanations. 5. Evidence is carefully screened and reviewed with the intention of debunking it. 6. Evidence that cannot be debunked is properly archived and preserved. Investigations are conducted to gather credible evidence of life after death, spiritual communication, poltergeist activity, and hauntings. Any questionable evidence is discarded, which can lead to potential discord among group members. Evidence meetings should be held to allow all members to review and vote on whether to retain the evidence. Some investigators may prioritize the collection of evidence over providing assistance to those experiencing disturbances. The ultimate goal is to help individuals rather than just collect data. While personal encounters can be compelling, a lack of physical evidence may render them inadmissible, even if there is corroboration from witnesses.
And sometimes the two go together. Just being open to the client's experiences and taking the time to follow procedure and capture perhaps real evidence, if you do catch something, it can do wonders to validate the client who, prior to that, they may have been concerned that everyone just thought they were crazy. They may have thought they themselves were hallucinating, right? So it makes people feel less alone. And even if you don't capture something, you are at least validating what they've been through. You're at least saying, I'm going to at least listen to you enough to look. And that can be healing for people. Also, it's kind of in bad taste to fool people and be like, oh, I found a ghost, and you're just making it up. That's kind of in bad taste. I shouldn't have to tell you that.
Don't be a dick. The scientific method involves the following steps. 1. Define the question. In a paranormal investigation, this could be something like, what is causing the unusual events reported by this client?
Flatulence.
2. Poopy. Gather information and resources. 3. Formulate a hypothesis. 4. Conduct experiments and collect data. At minimum, you'll need a camera, an audio recorder, a watch, and a notepad. 5. Analyze the data. 6. Interpret the data and draw conclusions that serve as the foundation for a new hypothesis. 7. Publish your results. 8. Always retest findings.
Wait a minute, where are you supposed to publish your results?
www.ghosts.com. Duh.
Twitter.
Twitter.
No, really, we're living in the days of social media, so a lot of ghost hunters are just people with very haunted houses who are either faking it or they have a very bad ghost problem and then they film it on their phone and they post it to TikTok, right? That's like publishing results today. But then nobody believes you. But you know what? I'll believe you. But if you'd like to hear the rest of part 1 of Paranormal Investigation 101, how to become a paranormal investigator / ghost hunter, where we talk about following the scientific method, ghosts in ancient culture. We're going to talk a little bit about etymology, rare, exotic types of ghosts, what ghosts are made of, the guy who came up with the term ectoplasm, that's my favorite part, and the difference between all the various sorts of hauntings. Then please visit www.patreon.com/thewholerabbit, where your monthly donation of just $5 will not only get you the extended edition of this episode, you'll get the full edition of every single one of our episodes, which go back before 2020, which is basically forever ago. Once you log in on Patreon, you can browse and listen to those extended episodes right on Spotify. It's very convenient. It's the most convenient way to listen to the members only show. I'll even send you a 5x5 high quality vinyl sticker of our Big Bunny Baphomet cover art, which is guaranteed to attract ghosts. And you'll get the secret keys to our Discord server where you can publish your results. I want to see your UFO videos. I want to see your ghost footage. I want to hear your EVPs. We're ready to believe you.
Yeah.
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 Thank you, everybody. Eat carrots and shoot lasers.
Pew pew.
Pew, pew, pew.